Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another speed build. Now today we are in Eternity Isle in the Wild Tangle, the jungle area of the biome, and we are going to be making a jungle theme park. Now I was originally going to do my theme park dream snaps we did a couple of weeks ago. I was going to do it here, but I decided against it, and now I actually feel like I really missed an opportunity to build a really cool theme park here. So I decided in this spot in the tangle where we have like the boat on top of the mountain behind is just the perfect spot to build a theme park. I have quite a few theme park themed items that I hadn't really had anywhere to place them and couldn't find a good spot for them, so I am going to be building them today. I don't have any of the previous Star Path rides, so they will not be included in this, so if you don't have those either, you can join me in missing out on those. But there is quite a few premium items that I do start off with, and I start moving them around and rearranging these bigger items. Now this area isn't particularly big compared to the size of the items I was trying to include, like the Pizza Planet and the new Monsters Inc. ride are very big, so I was trying to manage how to fit all the things in to this kind of smaller space. I was debating extending it to the small section behind, so you'll see originally I have the Tower of Terror and a few other items at this smaller spot, but as you see as I go through, I do rearrange these bigger items and kind of figure out spaces for them and where would work best before I kind of had a kind of layout ready of what I wanted to do. I do change it as we go through. There's a lot of chopping and changing in this video, but for now I kind of wanted to rearrange everything how I wanted it and start blocking in my pathway. Now for pathway in here, I used the standard brick pathway, but the bordered version, I felt like this just looked the most similar to what you would expect in a theme park. And with this build, I knew a lot of the floor was going to be covered with this stone brick. There wasn't going to be much grass about, apart from in some kind of back corner areas or the surrounding areas where there's trees and bushes and things like that. I knew a lot of it would be pathway to obviously mimic it being a very built up theme park. It does have the kind of natural element of it around the edges, especially in this biome. There's a lot of like beautiful rocks and trees, and there's obviously a waterfall in one part behind, so I didn't want to block too much of that. But in terms of the flooring, I knew that a lot of this would be pathway, so I started mapping that in where I wanted it to go. I wanted the pathways to be quite thick compared to my normal pathway style, to kind of mimic thick pathways you see at a theme park. Obviously there's got to be a lot of people walking through at one time, so it has to be this very open space, which was very different for me. I'm very used to doing kind of small winding pathways, but in this case I went for something a bit more structured and a bit more kind of modern in a way, and making sure it was kind of as similar to a natural theme park as I could get. Now this area of the biome has so many entrances and exits that I knew I'd have to kind of figure out a way of making these seem kind of fitting with a theme park. So I used some of the craftable Dreamlight banners just to kind of tie it all together and make it feel like you're entering this kind of bright area and a new section of a theme park, as well as using some of the wintry lamps we got in the previous Winter Star Path. I felt like these were the most similar to ones I would kind of see naturally in a theme park, so I went with those, but you could definitely use the craftable ones as well. They would work just as well, and I wanted to kind of block in those entrances and exits so I knew where my pathway would lead to, what areas I could start filling in with the different items. And as you can see, I started moving everything over to this bigger area. I moved over the Tower of Terror and moved over all the items I wanted to use. It did mean I had to sacrifice a couple of items, like the Beauty and the Beast topiary I did remove, but I felt like it was something that could definitely be sacrificed in here, as it wasn't necessarily something that would I had to feel like I had in a theme park, as well as that I do have it in many other places in my valley. So I wanted to focus on these kind of core items that I definitely wanted to include. So I started arranging those and getting them into the spot I wanted them to be in before I started starting to edit around them and kind of decorate them as I wanted to. Once I put in the main buildings and the kind of bigger furniture items, I started going in with a lot of the smaller items. As you can see, I placed them all above just so I knew what I had and what I had to work with, and I kind of just started dotting those around the different areas of the biome, figuring out where I wanted each kind of section or design to go. I didn't really have a big structure in mind. The only thing I knew beforehand was that I wanted the pizza planet to have its own kind of small seating area, and that was kind of really my only plan in terms of that. So I kind of just let myself pick and choose where I wanted things to go, and I did rearrange things quite a few times before I was completely happy with how it looked. Now, once I had gone through and kind of added everything that I'd pre-planned before, I did go through my furniture list and just double check there was anything I missed. I did actually decide to put some vehicles outside the V8 kind of petrol station or gas station, and kind of decided to add the final few things that I wasn't sure if I was going to use. I did end up using a lot of the floral planters. I kind of didn't really think about placing these out because I wanted to map in everything before I made spots for them, but I actually wanted to use a lot of the kind of flower planters throughout the build, as it just seems like something you would definitely see at a theme park. A lot of kind of flowers, and it really reminds me of when you first walk into Disney and you have these really beautiful kind of decorated floral areas. obviously in the game, for those of you who did the star path, you have the figment topiary, which I absolutely love. I'm so sad I don't have that, because that reminds me so much of Disneyland. It's so, they really nailed it with that furniture piece. It really reminds me of the kind of topiaries you see in Disney, so that would be a really good alternative if you do have that. But for me, I just decided to put a lot of these floral planters around to kind of get that same vibe and make sure everything was very bright and colourful. Once I had done all the kind of main furniture items, I then went in and started adding trees and bushes. And I first started off with placing a lot of plaza trees around. Now, I don't tend to use these very often. They don't really fit the kind of vibe of the builds I normally do. I like things that are a bit more natural looking rather than these kind of modern plants. But in here, the plaza trees just made perfect sense just for the theme park vibe. They look very looked after, well kept, and kind of give it that modern feel. But I did want to surround those with some natural trees from the biome to kind of blend it into the surroundings it is in. I wanted it to kind of all blend nicely. I didn't want it to look too odd and kind of out of sorts in here in the jungle. I wanted it to feel like a jungle theme park, so I did go around with a lot of the jungle trees. I do go in and add some others. I add some maples and some oaks in between, just to kind of break up the colours and to kind of make things seem more natural and kind of just bring a bit of a change in between. I like to do this to kind of make it look less kind of samey all the way around. So I do go in and add some of those different trees in the background, and then I go in and add my foliage. Now, usually in my builds, if you've seen my builds before, I go for very overgrown builds. I make everything very kind of covered over, foresty, whimsical. In this build, I was going for a bit more of a modern theme. That's why I wanted to use the flower beds and the plaza trees to kind of make it seem a bit more well looked after and structured. However, in between all those gaps, I did want to include lots of bushes, flowers and shrubbery to kind of just bring that jungle element and make the backdrop of everything seem very busy and very full. And it just really reminded me of how in theme parks they have these big kind of tree displays or things going on that kind of block different sections of everything, so you can kind of be in one area and you can't even see something that's right next to it because it's got this beautiful like trees or bushes all covering it over. So that was kind of the aspect I was going for with this. Plus I think it also just brings a lot of character and a lot of colour, so that was why I kind of had my thought behind that. So I did go in and add a lot of those around in all the gaps. I used both base game and Eternity Isle plants, and I wanted them to kind of vary in colour and things like that. I did want it to feel very colourful and bright in here, so I did place loads of those around, kind of mixing the element of the kind of structured plaza modern vibe with elements of the jungle, where it kind of just blended in with the natural biome it was in. Once I'd done the surrounding areas of the foliage, I did add some ferns just kind of on the side of the pathways or just in smaller little alcove sections, and then I added in some of the rocky pebbles just over the pathway. I felt like they just gave them a bit more texture, made this big open space seem less kind of plain and flat. I feel like these are just nice to kind of break it up a little bit. And then I went in and added the last few furniture pieces. I did go and grab some from Scrooge's, some things that I felt like I was missing, and kind of dotted those about. So I had some kind of lights to go on the tables, and I also got a lot of the wally lamps and dotted these around along the pathways and in between bushes, as these really remind me of kind of like garden lights you'd see, and they just really reminded me of that, and I felt like having these dotted about would just bring some extra light and colour that you would tend to see at a theme park. So I did kind of space those out between the whole build and figured out good spots where these would just bring a little bit of extra light. Finish up, I did add some food to both the Wreck-It Ralph counter as well as the Pizza Planet tables. I kind of went for Disney themed food, so I went for obviously a lot of sweet treats, the Mickey shaped waffles, the mini red velvet cake. I also included things like turkey legs and pizza and stuff like that, because obviously these are things you can actually get at Disney. So I wanted to keep it very in theme with Disney itself as a theme park, and I just did these about on the tables. I also got some time bending resources and just dotted those about as well to just bring a little bit of extra character. But I wanted these kind of counters and tables to feel very filled, very busy, as if groups of people are there to hang out and kind of enjoy the foods that are being served around the park. So this is the final build I have made at sunset, so you can kind of see the lights and everything kind of lit up. And as we come in from the entrance from the top section, you can obviously see in front, the first thing we see is our Mickey and Walt statue. We have Woody's carousel on the right, which just looks beautiful in here. We've got some toys and machines, we've got some up balloons, we have this really cute item we got with Stitch, which is the kind of city that he destroys. I think it looks really sweet in here. We then have our Wreck-It Ralph bar. I was going to make a bigger bar, but I'm actually happy with how this looks. It's got lots of treats on there. As we follow it around, behind that we have the new Monsters Inc. ride from the premium shop, and then in front of that on the left we just have some more decorations, some more balloons, and then our Tower of Terror. I just placed some fountains outside of that to kind of just blend it all in and make it seem very old school. I then have some Toy Story items like the photo booth and the kind of games machines, as well as the Toy Story popcorn machine with some popcorn there, Vanellope's car at the V8 cafe, and then just an ice cream stand and another games machine as we lead out to the other part of the biome. As we follow around and come past the V8 cafe, we obviously can see that we've got the little Nightmare Before Christmas carousel on the right, which just is really sweet here, and opposite that we have Pizza Planet with our little seating area outside filled with lots of food. It just looks like a really cozy area to hang out. In front of that you can see we've got the new Mickey and Minnie fountain, as well as just again lots more decoration, a lot more colour. We've got balloons everywhere, we've got lights, we've got flowers, we've got toys, we've got everything. And these are just kind of leading to the other 3 exits of the biome out here. There are a lot of exits here, so I had to kind of design around them, but I'm very happy with how this build turned out. I did take some shots during daytimes just so you could see the colours really pop in here. I'm very happy with how this build turned out. I'm actually really glad I finally did it, and even though I didn't do it originally for my dream snaps, I'm happy I've got it now, and I feel like it fills this spot in the jungle really beautifully, and I'm definitely going to hopefully add some more rides to this when we get some. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and this inspires you to create your own theme park. Even if you don't have the previous Star Path rides, it is still doable. Obviously, some of these items are premium shop items, so if you don't have them, there are definitely alternatives that you could use to create your very own theme park. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let me know down below if you enjoyed the video and if there's anything you want to see next. I'm always looking for your suggestions, so do let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!